everyone, Haley here from The Foiled Plan. Today I'm going to be showing you how I made this super cute first birthday onesie using one of my own personal designs that you can find on thefoiledplan.com. I'll leave a link in the description box below so you can find the design easily. Now, I actually filmed this tutorial back in March of 2019, but I just never shared it on YouTube. I thought I would share it now just because I had it sitting in my archives, and why not? I filmed this tutorial when I was still kind of fresh to using HTV iron-on, and I made a massive mistake when I did this design the first time, and I had to start all over, so I thought I would share so you could learn from my mistakes. Also, I created this onesie using just my regular home iron, and it just goes to show that you can still create some really fun things even if you don't have the most expensive equipment in the world. Now today we're going to be working in Design Space and using the Slice tool in order to create this multicolored design using easyweed and Glitter HTV. Let's get started. Alright, so the first thing that I did was lay my onesie down on my desk, grab my ruler, and just measure out how large I wanted my design to be. Now today I'm going to be working on my Windows laptop. I like to show you guys that you can work with lots of different types of equipment to achieve the same results. You don't have to have one specific thing for these types of projects to work. So you're also going to be seeing footage from when I completed this project the very first time, and then I'm kind of talking over it to tell you what I did wrong and how I fixed it. So the big mistake that I made was thinking that I could layer easyweed on top of Glitter HTV, and unfortunately you can't do that. So when I created this the first time, the bow and the bunny tail, they just were not sticking to the glitter, so I had to redo the entire project. So you're actually going to be seeing footage from when I first completed this the wrong way, and then I'll voice over how to fix it. So I'm actually going to pop over to another screen. This is my cell phone. I just did this while I'm editing this so I can show you exactly what it looks like. So it looks a little bit strange, but just bear with me. So I've opened up Design Space on my phone, and then I'm opening up my imported images just to bring that design back up on the screen for you to see it. So the first thing you want to do is click on the image and hit ungroup. When it's imported as an SVG, it's all one unit. So click on group and that separates things. So we can see I can move the tail on its own, I can move the bow on its own. So I just want to hit undo, so I want those back exactly where they were. Now I want this bow to remain untouched, so what I'm going to do is actually click duplicate and then just move the bow over to the side for now so that nothing happens to it. Then what I'm going to do is create a space for that nice bow to sit exactly where it should be on the bunny's head. So I'm going to draw a rectangle around part of the bunny and the bow. So I only want to select 2 layers because the slice tool only works when you have 2 layers selected. So it may look like you have the tail included, but you just have the bunny's body and the bow. Now what I'm going to do is in the Actions tab, scroll over and find the Slice button. Now it's going to look like it's really strange where that bow should be, but you're just going to continuously click each one of those pieces and delete them until there's an empty space. And now that bow fits perfectly back where it should be. When you're using the Slice tool, it brings everything that you sliced back up to top layers, so it looks like the tail is gone when in reality it's just on a lower layer now. If we click layers and click on the tail, then we click edit and go over to arrange, we can send the tail to the front, and that makes things easier to see, which makes things easier to work with. Now we're going to complete the same thing we just did by creating a rectangle around the tail and the bunny, but not the bow, because we're only selecting 2 layers. Then we're going to click the Slice tool and we're going to remove the tail and then the sliced tail. So now it just looks like an empty space. The reason we did this was because the onesie itself is actually white, so we will see a white tail peeking through. Now we want the Cricut to cut everything exactly where it looks like it is on the screen, so we need to do some attaching. So what I'm going to do first is click on everything that is yellow, and I'm going to click the little eye tool so that I can't see it. I only want to see pink things on my screen. Once I've done that and I only see pink things, I'm going to draw a rectangle around all of those things and then scroll over and hit attach. Now what I can do is open back up my layers. I'm going to hide my pink attached set. I'm going to show all of my yellow items, and then I'll complete the same thing. I'll draw a rectangle around those things and I'll hit attach. Now if I click layers, it looks like I have 2 attached sets. So in theory, I should only be working on 2 mats. So if I click make it, now I can see if I click up in the top left corner, there's 2 mats and I can see everything is exactly where it should be. Now the only thing left to do is click mirror for iron on, and I'm ready to cut my HTV. Now we're kind of going backwards again because, like I said, this footage is from when I completed the project incorrectly. So if you're wondering why it looks like the bunny doesn't have a spot cut out on his ears, that's why. And as always, I'm using my Fiskars paper trimmer just to trim down a smaller piece of HTV. And you'll see shortly that I also have my Fiskars brayer in order to make sure that my HTV is securely attached to the mat. This mat is a standard grip cutting mat, and it's still pretty tacky. It's perfect for projects like this. Now I'm ready to load the mat into the Cricut. You can see the light is flashing and my blush easyweed is ready to go. So I'm going to grab my mat from the center and just gently feed it in as I press the loading button. The reason I always have my hand in the center is because if you don't, sometimes the mat goes in crooked and then it's just a mess. So now I'm going to unload this. I flip the mat upside down to remove the HTV. That way I don't have any creases in the HTV. And I'm ready to load the gold HTV. So with HTV, you always want to make sure that the shiny side is down on the mat because we are cutting the mat, or we are cutting the design backwards. So the color or the vinyl needs to be backwards as well. So that's gonna cut, and I left and got myself some pizza bites because, you know, you need some crafting fuel. And then I was back to the project. So now I'm ready to unload this mat, and same thing, we're gonna peel it away. And another mistake that I made, I realized I had my setting too high for my cut, and I ended up, well, you'll see. I'm like, what is going on? I'm looking at it thinking, oh no, what have I done? Just goes to show that this happens to me too. So it's kind of die cut instead of just like kiss cut, but it happens, and you know what? Just roll with it. There was so many things that went wrong with this project the first time, but it was a learning experience. But anyways, okay, moving on. So I just set that off to the side, and now it's time to weed the designs. You'll notice I have a little piece of white there too. Again, that was because I had originally cut myself a little tail, and I didn't need to do that. You'll see why shortly. So I've weeded the design, and now I'm going to arrange the design how I want it to be. It was actually, as Bob Ross would say, a happy little accident that the HTV, the glitter gold, ended up being a die cut, because I was able to kind of pick everything up, and there's still there's still a transfer sheet on the bunny and the E, so it's fine if there's like 2 layers. So see how it's kind of covering over. I don't know if this makes sense, but I kind of just like stuck it behind and then was able to move the design together. And then I think I ended up pressing it like this and then realized that that bow ended up sticking to the transfer sheet that was on top of the bunny, because at the time I didn't slice a spot for the bow to sit in. Oh my goodness, so many problems. But just don't do this. Just don't do this when you guys complete this project. Learn from my mistakes, as I said earlier. You know, this actually would have worked had I put the bow, like sliced the spot for the bow to be and sliced the spot for the tail to be. So, things to think about in the future, I suppose. Anyways, I'm going off on a tangent, so let's move on to adding some heat to this puppy. So as I said in the beginning, I'm just going to be using my iron. This is a Black & Decker iron. I have it linked in my Amazon shop if you're interested in this specific one. So I'm just using a towel and I'm just going to smooth out any wrinkles, and then I'm going to lay the onesie down on top and then give it a quick little iron just to make sure everything lays flat on there so that the design will sit perfectly. Now I'm just going to set the design down on top and I'm going to measure it out yet again just to make sure that it is in fact centered, and then it's time to iron it down. So I pressed and ironed for quite a while, just occasionally lifting up a corner of the carrier sheet just to make sure the vinyl was actually adhered to the onesie. And then once I got rid of that first carrier sheet, that's when I realized the giant mistake I had made with that pink bow. Had I just set that aside or sliced it in the first place, I may have been able to salvage this, but I couldn't. So I ended up starting to just pick a way to try and get the bow off, because that clear transfer sheet was still on the bunny and the E. It did not work so well. So again, learn from my mistakes. That's the motto today, folks. I ended up pressing the bunny and the E down a little bit more so that I could take the carrier sheet off, and it still did look cute just like this, but I really wanted the bunny to have the tail and the bow. I was thinking to myself that I could still salvage this, so I tried to attach the tail to the Glitter HTV. At this point, still unaware that I could not layer easyweed on top of HTV. It just wouldn't stick. So now I'm attempting to do that, which also did not work. And I thought to myself, oh, if this works, I can just cut a new bow and then redo the bow on top. But it just would not work. So I ended up deciding that I was done trying to work on this onesie. I mean, you can only spend so much time and effort trying to salvage something. Sometimes you just have to start over. So that's what I did, and that's when I came up with the idea to use the slice tool like I showed you guys in the beginning of the video, and it ended up working out perfectly. And I pressed the onesie and it was perfect the first time. No stress after that, and it ended up working out once I started over. Well, that is all I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed this different kind of tutorial today. I hope you can learn from my mistakes and just kind of learn to laugh at yourself and go with the flow. I mean, not every plan that I make works out the first time, hence my name, The Foiled Plan. But just keep at it, change things up, try new things, and don't be too hard on yourself. Because even the people that you think have it all together don't have it all together all the time. We still make mistakes. So you guys know the drill. You can find all of my links in the description box below. As always, I will leave links to my website and all my other social media fun stuff, coupons, and all that jazz. And that's all I'm gonna say. Bye.